Ready to go? All right, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
9:03. And we will call the October 23rd, 2025 IDM Indianapolis Recycling Market Development Board meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Full house today. That's very good. First order of business is consideration and approval of the July 24th, 2025 meeting minutes. And so everyone had an opportunity to review those. Let's start. Jared, you have a chance to review the minutes?
I knew that we approved them as submitted.
Have a motion by Debbie Ackman. Do we have a second?
Second for you.
Second by Mr. Noonan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Let's see. Next, on the agenda, we have a item update by Mr. Carl Woodridge, Deputy Commissioner.
And real quick, Bruce, I'm gonna do our housekeeping for those that are online today. No, that's all right. I forgot to put it on our agenda. So for those online, thank you for joining us today. I'm Deanna Garner, Recycling Market Development Program Manager for Items Office of Program Support. All microphones are currently muted. For attendance tracking, please take a moment to write your name and affiliation in the chat box. We will be taking questions and comments from participants at the appropriate times in today's meeting. All participants will be able to unmute themselves and ask questions or make comments. If you have a question or technical issue during the presentation, use the raise hand or chat features. For those on the phone, if you have a question, you can raise your hand by pressing *9, and we will call on you at the appropriate time. Called upon, you'll need to unmute your phone by pressing *6. If any members of the media have joined us, please utilize the chat feature, or you may email rmdpgrants@idem.in.gov with any questions, or if you would like to schedule an interview. This meeting is being recorded and will be posted on IDEM's website at recycle.in.gov. And with that, I'll hand it over to Carl now.
Hey, everybody. We have a lot of.
Wait until we get the new hires started.
Have several updates. Gonna try and keep them short though, knowing we have a full agenda with the grant awards this time and the reports that Tom's gonna present to you all. First and foremost, I think you all are aware that Pat Daniel retired from IDEM after 38 years with the state, 31 years with IDEM. So to say I'm bummed is an understatement. She retired effective September 26th, I think was her last day. Although I am working on trying to see if I can bring her back on. We have a retirement program. Pat did agree that, by wanted to do that and was able to, she would be willing to do that like a day or so a week, for maybe 6 months or so to kind of bridge the gap between who fills her shoes and try to, because Pat did a lot for our agency, not just OPS, but she also took on a lot of things for the agency as a whole. She kind of coordinated our agreement that went along with our federal grant funding from EPA that funds a lot of our functions for our agency. So that was one of a number of things that she did for IDEM in her career. So just also want to go on record that, we're very appreciative of her, stellar service for so many years. We're definitely going to miss her in OPS and IDEM. So I am working on backfilling her position. I did get approval to do that and it just closed at the end of the day yesterday. So I've already started scheduling interviews. So hopefully, definitely before our next RMDB meeting, we should have a new section chief in place by then for sure. We also have several other vacancies, unfortunately. So trying to keep my head above water a little bit. We've been down our technology position since August due to some potential reorganization in our information services team within our agency. That position hasn't been filled. I suspect it will likely be a position that now belongs to our information services team, and they'll probably end up filling it once that all meetings out in the next few weeks. But I don't know that for sure. I'm just conjecturing at this point. But so hopefully we'll get that position filled and get some additional services that we've been sort of missing out on the last couple of months there. Also, Tom is filling in to provide the e-waste recycling report overview today because Jacob Schmicker also left IDEM OPS in mid-September to take a position with INDOT up in northern Indiana to be closer to family. So we just finished interviews. I had Deanna and Jennifer sit in on those with me since I don't have a section chief right now. But just wanted to get that expedited. So hopefully we'll have somebody in place within a few weeks in that role. And then on the same day that Pat retired, we lost, and also in her section, one of our quality assurance managers for the agency, one of two positions that we have in our office that does reviews SOPs and quality assurance project plans that are required for grant funded projects in-house. So working on getting that position approved to post and fill as well. And then we have two other sort of more operational positions in our office that are vacant. One of those was vacated because we promoted Marcus Payton in our office, who was in our grant coordinator role, into our OPS operations manager position. That was sort of a reclass from our financial analyst in our office. So hopefully you'll get approval for at least one of those positions, hopefully both of them, because we do have a lot of things that we're kind of backed up on and not doing quite as effectively as we would with all these vacancies. So, and then the last thing I just wanted to mention is, so our IDEM leadership at the agency has started engaging a larger leadership team. So all of our managers, all of our technical E7s, our program director E7s, anybody who's in a leadership role is part of what we're calling the extended leadership team. And so we're getting ready to have a 2-day extended leadership team, like symposium, if you will. So very much looking forward to that. I think that's just Clint and Hillary, our commissioner and chief of staff, is really just wanting to better connect with all of the leadership across the agency and ensure that all of the messages, are getting to the staff. So more to report on that after we have that first 2-day symposium, but we have virtual meetings. We had initial in-person meetings sort of early in the year when our commissioner was kind of newly on board. Other than that, there's plenty more I could update you all on, but I think those are kind of the main ones that affect our office, yes, and the agency as a whole. So thank you, Bruce.
Thank you, Carl. Any questions, Carl?
If it's appropriate, I'd like to recommend that we send a letter to Pat under the chairman's signature acknowledging her service and thanking her for all of the assistance that she's given to this board.
This morning has been issued.
And I'll give my motion if that's appropriate.
Everybody is in agreement with that. I don't know that we can thank Pat enough
Yeah.
for the help she's given us. And, I'm sure everyone in your, organization can't thank her enough,
Yeah.
but we need to get her a key lime pie. That's what we need to do. I'll fund that, Diana, if you wanna pick one up. But
I'll look into that.
no, a nice thank you, from the board, I think would be very appropriate. Thank you, Terry.
Thanks, Steve.
Yeah. Anything else for Carl? All right, thank you, Carl. Next thing on the agenda, we've got status updates of existing grants. Stana Gardner.
Okay, I'm gonna start with, our fiscal year 24. Most of those are, closing out. We do have, a few exceptions. CW Recycling and Indiana Shingle will be getting extensions for time. One of those, the CW Recycling is just having issues with getting permits for the new facility, for the equipment to go into. And then, Indiana Shingle, I think that's a new process with the asphalt shingling, so they're still tinkering around with the methodology and making strides to make it work appropriately. So we did extend their grants, for additional time. Fiscal year, and then the last for fiscal year 24, Floyd County, we did work with our legal team and sent them the letter on how the board decided, and we have not heard back from them. So, yeah, unfortunately, as far as we know, they'll probably still dissolve at the end of the year. And I'll keep you updated as far as how the equipment gets distributed. Fiscal year 25, we just finished the 6-month mark, so I received all the reports. Everything's progressing. I had one Central Indiana Waste Diversion Project, American Metals, that has already asked for an amendment for a slight variation on their equipment purchases. They're gonna get one less magnet shredder and like a filtration system to help clean up that process. So that is in the works to get approved and through the process as well. So that's it for our grants and how they're going. We can also, I can keep going for the next item on the agenda.
Certainly.
Indiana Materials Management Plan update. We are still working with Eunomia to get that plan finalized by the end of the year. As I mentioned at the last board meeting, they are looking at different ways and exploring and modeling how we could increase that 50% recycling rate, and identified 6 major strategies to do so. As they've modeled out those strategies from our baseline data we have, it looks like it would get us to a 35% recycling rate. So it's a preliminary next step. If those were, to be able to be implemented, of course. We have received their first draft of the plan. We are in process of reviewing it and providing comments, and the final draft, or final plan should be, to us by the beginning of December. So we're nearing the finish line. Pretty exciting there. In addition to that, I am working on getting the pass-through funding for local plans, implemented. So I have put out a request for letters of intent from municipalities and solid waste management districts and counties, to try to get a feel for who's interested in applying. And then we hope by the beginning of December to put out, or start accepting applications, for the pass-through funding. We're thinking, and it may change based on our responses, but about 15,000 per entity that applies on a first come, first served basis will be able to get funding towards a contractor to do the work to create a local plan. And then there will be guidance on how to do that in our state plan. That's it.
All right, thank you, Dan. Um, next item on the agenda, recycling program reports. Mr. Lees?
And I need to share my screen.
Well, thank you. I sure appreciate the opportunity to talk about what we do all the time, and this is that annual event that we do this, and so we have the item 2024 recycling index report. That's on our website. It will be, and we'll go over some of the highlights of that report. Get it going. Right, this is a familiar looking chart that you've seen. It hasn't changed much over the years, even decades. The percentages are pretty stable. And as you look at that, we have a waste MSW generation number that we calculate as a baseline. And so MSW generation is the sum of what goes to landfills, the final disposal, and then also what goes to recycling end-use markets. So those total tons is what the recycling rate is based upon. And the 18% for last year is a number that was calculated. And really what stands out is we talk about a linear economy. We think of landfills, and we talk about a circular economy. We think about recycling end-use markets. And those transitions go back and forth. And they're very competitive. And it makes up the material management plan for the state. Next slide. And here you see the actual tonnages. We track tonnages online through ReTrack. I mean, all these tons are tracked and reported. And of course, the big number is what goes to landfills, almost 7 million tons. And mainly in-state landfills, 6.5 million tons to in-state, and a little bit that goes exported to landfills. As you see, the recycling end-use markets, those are other categories of that we can look at, and different infrastructures. I kind of think about infrastructures, trucks really move a lot of material. And what goes to landfills, we're thinking about, thousands of trucks per day. And what goes to recycling end-use markets would be in the hundreds of trucks a day. So infrastructure is very specific as to what you're trying to move. And the wood waste and organics category is mainly mulch, could be animal bedding, compost. It could be some food waste in those organics. Other recycling would include, that's where the e-waste would kind of show up in the other recycling column. And there's textiles and miscellaneous type of materials. But we do have tonnages that we track, and those are reported. So in the next couple of slides, we'll finish out this report, and we're just gonna specifically look at what goes as commodity recyclables, glass, metals, paper, and plastics. That's kind of what people think about when you say recycling, glass, metal, paper, and plastics, commodity recyclables. And so the next slide, we can dive a little bit deeper in what that stream would be. And so this is tracked by shipments of material. And as you can see, what gets collected and what gets shipped to end-use markets is mainly paper. 2/3 of what we collect and move to end-use markets would be paper cardboard category. And glass and metal and plastics make up about 25% of the total commodity recyclables. And the single stream is something that is collected but processed out of state MRFs. That is tracked differently. So less than 10% of that amount is directed that way. And then the next slide, it talks about the type of infrastructure that moves those materials. And this has been a work in progress in discerning how the infrastructure for commodity recyclables. And through the reporting, we can discern what makes up those categories. And so in the red is what is typical is from the in-state MRFs with single stream sorting. We got 7 facilities specifically that we track and get that number. And you'll see how many tons are directed that way. So roughly 200,000 tons goes through our in-state MRFs as being shipped. And the green is the single stream that gets sent to out-of-state facilities. And that's roughly 67,000 tons per year. And so infrastructure wise, we're talking about tons. And then the blue category is the MRF source separated. They have baler type operations, and these are large facilities. It could be like Quincy Recycle or West Rock has a facility that provide baling of large quantities of materials. And that's mainly paper and a little bit of plastics with those source separated. But also the blue stream has the non-MRF activity, which is kind of the wild card of reporting. And that's outside of the MRF shed. And so we're very good about tracking recyclables through the MRF shed. But there's some that is outside and could be shipped directly to end use markets. And it would be like a Walmart that has distribution centers where they collect the materials and handle it on their own infrastructure outside of the MRF shed. And sometimes that goes up and down, that non-MRF activity, and that, like I said, that's kind of the wild card. So we're not comprehensive of all that activity that goes on in that category, but the rest of it is pretty documented. And interesting to note too, like the solid waste management districts as a whole, of all the districts that collect and either provide their own services or contract out services to move the recyclables, they do about 100,000 tons per year. They oversee that. And so you look at what goes to in-state MRFs, and the districts are doing 100,000 tons, and a lot of that would go to the in-state MRFs. And so that's a quick rundown of the recycling index report. The full report will be on our website. So also, Jacob was very instrumental about the Indiana E-Cycle program. So I'm filling his shoes right at this moment. And as the background would show, this program started in 2009. It was, the law was passed, and it created an extended producer responsibility or program as well. We call that the Indiana E-Cycle program. And not long ago, we had these kind of projects come before the board, and it was totally new to us to handle e-waste. And that was before the law got passed, and we started doing something about e-waste. And it has really evolved into a good industry that handles it very well. So it's been 15 years. The report goes over the calendar year 2024 results. So it's been very stable over the years. And so you see, it requires manufacturers, recyclers, and collectors. They all work together in the total output. But manufacturers have a obligation to do some recycling of e-waste. And as you're familiar with the program, it applies to covered electronic devices, typical computer type hardware and accessories that goes with what you think about computers wise, covered electronic devices. That's in the report too, more detail. You can go to the the e-waste annual report, that's on our website. Yeah, so yeah. Oh, it's, the program looks at specifically for households, schools and small businesses. That's where it collects the cover electronic devices. In the sales, the obligation is based upon, what manufacturers, produce and sell, video display devices. You're probably familiar with the program anyway. And next slide. So the way the law was set up, that manufacturers, if they sell a video display device in the state, they have to recycle 60% of that weight on an annual basis. And so we track those manufacturers, and they are registered into our program. And so their obligation has been around, 18.5 million pounds of e-waste for 24, but that's been pretty consistent over a time period. And they're required to recycle that many pounds of covered electronic devices. Whereas the recycling report, we deal in tons, but in e-waste, we deal in pounds. Different infrastructure going on. Next slide. Oh, yeah, I guess the incentives, yeah, back the old one that, their CDs recycled, actually recycled, but then they also can get incentives, depending if those CEDs were recycled from a non-metropolitan county and if they were recycled at an in-state recycling facility. Those are specifics of the programs. So there's a little bit of incentives to be gathered there. Not much that was taken, but they're available. And look at the results. And we got a couple more slides and we'll be done, wrap this up. But the recyclers also are in the retrack and they have to submit reports about how many pounds of CEDs they handle. And they do more than what is required by the manufacturers. So there's a recycling obligation by the manufacturers is what is required, but the recyclers themselves do more than that, which you can see. And they 30 million versus 20 million type of pounds. And Indiana's got some good recyclers. We got some big recyclers in the state that have evolved and doing more than what is required. So the industry is being successful. And the next slide is about the collectors. And just as much as we got 91 collectors of material, we got 18 recyclers, and we got 71 manufacturers that are in the program. And so collectors, they look at what comes from metropolitan counties versus non-metropolitan counties, because those are part of the incentives, and we track it. And what comes in must go out through the system. And so 30 million pounds is what gets collected, and the recyclers take that as well. One point that kind of stands out for the non-metropolitan areas is most of that comes through the districts. Well, 75% of it is through the districts for non-metropolitan areas. Overall, though, most material comes from metropolitan areas. But our companies include technology recyclers, they're big collectors as well, recyclers. Greenwave Computer Recycling, ERI is a big collector and recycler. Recycle Forces in there. The Goodwill Industries are also big collectors. But another thing that kind of stands out to me when I was looking at the information was the 80-20 rule. For collection and for recyclers, 20% of the facilities will do 80% of the work of pounds wise. That's kind of the way it goes for collection and recycling. of e-waste. So the 80-20 rule. But yeah, that kind of completes the overview, and both those reports will be on our website. Sure.
I was just curious, I noticed it both in the regular recycling and the e-waste recycling that 2023, the volumes were a lot lower. Do we have any idea why?
Oh, yeah, 23. There was a little movement, not all. I guess, yeah, in the recycling area. I guess we can go back a little there. No, oh, that's this. And you're thinking like for the commodities?
Yeah, yeah,
That one there. So we're up a little bit on overall commodities. Yeah, we're up like 14% from last year for glass, metal, paper and plastics. There was a little more glass and plastics reported, and Walmart had a lot more plastics they collected. And those numbers,
24.
yeah, in 24, and strategic, well, Sabaco, their glass numbers were up. That's why you see the, yeah, glass, metal, paper, plastics, fraction are higher than last year. There was a little less shipments from our single stream sorting facilities. They went down a little bit. That was another slide.
When was the green fence, the deal with China? What time period was that? Because I wondered that too when I saw the drop in 2023, why it was
I think that was about 17.
Oh, yeah.
Like 17 or 18.
It was before the budget.
much more.
That's
I guess so.
COVID.
Yeah, there was, yeah, 22 to 23, there was a drop in reported numbers. And looks like too, it has that kind of stuff.
Well, and I wasn't sure if this was maybe reflecting like during COVID, everybody, a lot more people were home and getting, you know, a lot more shipments and maybe we were getting back to normal, but now it's back up again, so.
It's moving in that direction. The 5-year averages have been pretty consistent. It did go down a little bit, now it's going back up just a little bit. Yeah,
Does some
21.
of that have to do with like the voluntary reporting of like the Walmarts and others too? Like,
Yeah, they're the
I think that what you said is kind of the wild card and it's because
activity.
they're, yeah, non-work activity. They're report to us.
Yeah, it does seem
Voluntary.
like the blue is where the change is happening.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
didn't know if it was, I
Prob-
know there's always a gap in what's actually happening and what gets reported. And maybe it was just a reporting was lower that year. That's my guess.
And most likely through the non-work activity. That's, again, those other numbers are pretty stable.
Thank you.
Bruce?
Yeah. Looking into the future, though. Obviously, electronic, pieces have become lighter, so our pounds are down. Not like we're using big mainframe towers now at home. We're
Right.
using laptops. So our pounds are coming down, but the variations of types of electronic devices have grown exponentially. And then when I look at these data centers that are going in, and these huge buildings that are gonna be filled with all this electronic equipment. And maybe ask Andrew as well as you, how prepared are we to handle that material 10 years from now?
Well, yeah, the e-waste recyclers, I mean, they handle what comes from households and small business and schools, and they also handle what comes from the big commercial sectors as well. And that's their business. They handle e-waste, and I believe that they will handle whatever is being generated. It doesn't go to the landfill. You know, it'd be hazardous waste material to take loads of e-waste and put in the landfill from a commercial sector. So it can't go that way. It needs to be recycled. And we got 9 facilities in state that handle it.
It's just gonna take it's gonna take some technology first, and it's also gonna have to take some of the regular labor, but planning out and seeing it, that's what we've got to get from that standpoint. So once a lot of these centers are approved, then you look at that, okay, in 5 years, I might be doing a technology upgrade, where are we at? It's that communication also too with those connections on who puts it in, who's running it and driving it that way. There's gonna be a lot of planning from that standpoint, because if they all come in at the same time and you got 4 or 5 centers, how do you take all that in? I mean, there's, you get ERI, you got Recycle Force and some others. It can be divided up and on who wins the bids, different things from that standpoint, but if one brings it in, that's an awful lot of work for one site.
As far as our abilities of state to handle it, you're comfortable or well prepared, and,
I think ERI
that's comforting to know, because as landfill operators and whatnot, we don't want
no,
it, and we can't take it. So they try to hide it, and, they try to do everything they can to get rid of things.
and with,
Wonderful to know that you're prepared
and
for
with
that volume.
with Recycle Force expanding, I think that'll help us too, as far as the state, because they're starting to grow more and more with their new buildings, so I think that'll also help too.
Good.
The capacity will be, that's the word we're looking for, capacity to be able to handle it.
And, Mr. Garrett,
How much out-of-state waste is coming in, and is that number included in the MSW?
No, it is not. So our MSW generation is for in-state ordinance only. And we also, we know how many tons from out of state are disposed at in our landfills. And it's roughly 30% of the total number is from out of state. So what we're showing here is just for Indiana origins. That number is available though.
any other questions? This is gonna require a vote, from the board. I take it, Tom?
Right.
Submit this?
Because these will need to be submitted to the legislature, so
Okay.
just a board approval to submit them.
Do I have a motion to, approve these reports and submit? Motion by Mr. Guerin, do I have a second?
I'll say.
Mr. by Mr. Kratz, second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you. I know you picked up another topic there that did a fine job on. Okay, the next topic on the agenda is our 2025 schedule quarterly. So meeting today, and I guess the first meeting of next year in 26 will be January 22nd. Is that what you want to do? Yeah, to go through and confirm these dates?
Yeah, I don't expect everybody to know what they're doing in April, July, or October, but this is a good time for us to look at the January meeting. Sometimes we look at that and we push it back into February as well. So just wanted feedback from the board on if we want to keep the January 22nd date or move it back into February. I know we also had some representatives on the, on teams, from our legislative members. If they have any feedback, it's usually they just can't make it for that first meeting of the year due to the session, but, sometimes we've also moved the date to a Wednesday or a different day of the week to try to accommodate their schedules as well.
Ms. Weaver is the one that normally has the month-long vacation.
I'm gonna be back from Mexico that week. I'll be back in time.
Okay.
I guess we leave them as is until,
All right.
we're always flexible. We can get a change moved out if we need to, can't we?
Yes.
Very good. We'll adopt these dates for next year's meetings and stick with that until and drives us to make a change. Oh, it looks like next part's why all these people are here today. Welcome, everyone. we'll try to make all of you smile, but, can't make any promises. The next order of business is consideration of the recycling market development board grant applications. And I will start by saying that number one, interesting group of grant requests this year, exciting group. And I want everyone to know that I am recusing myself from Jackson County solid waste grant application.
City
and
of Seymour.
because of a business conflict. And anyone else on the board who is recusing themselves from Mr. Guerin?
Yes, I have excused myself from the city of Indianapolis, the city of Lafayette, the city of Seymour, Green Cycle, Liberty Tire Recycling, Plastics Recycling, and Salted Dog Trash.
Boy, Terry, why'd you even show up today?
Yes, we're handling a lot of things, Terry.
It's given us a
Which is
blanket
good.
for. Yeah. That, I mean,
I recuse myself from the city of Seymour.
anyone else? Excellent. Thank you very much. Well, the way we normally do this, is giving you an overview. All of your applications have been scored independently by item staff as well as by board members. And we look at the board member score, we come up with a total composite score for your application, and we rank them accordingly. And we know how much we have in the kitty. We have $2 million. We will start with the highest scoring grant application. Possibly get some input, feedback from them if they're in attendance today. And we'll discuss it as a board. Whether or not make motion to approve anything, and we'll move down from there. So it's basically, once we run out of money, we're done with the grants. So, with that said, Ms. Garner, do you want to start with a list?
So based on our all score average from the item and board, the first one that ranked the highest is Nexus. Indiana, would you like someone from them to?
Yeah, do we have anyone from Nexus, Indiana?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If you would please come up, state your name, and give us a bit of an overview of your project, please.
Sorry to bring my whole briefcase, but the answers to possible questions are on like 3 different kinds of media. Thank you for having us this morning. My name is Ted Niblock. I'm the Vice President of Development for Nexus W2V. We are based in South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina. We develop sustainability waste to value projects around the United States. Our primary project for this year and last year has been up in Kingsbury outside of LaPorte. It is a $70+ million facility that is broken ground this year and is under construction right now. It will take 200 to 250 tons per day of various kinds of organic waste. The board had a grant from a composting operation last year where they were going to depack and shred recyclable materials in order to get the organic material into their activity. This is very similar. We do other valuable things with that organic material. But I think that of more interest to this particular venue is the recyclables that we take from the process and we put into the recycling materials marketplace. We typically, it's very difficult to precisely estimate the amount of recycled materials we take, but we estimate 6 to 8% of the weight that we take is the recyclable material. Obviously, organics are very heavy. So if you think of pallets and pallets of soda cans, right? You know, we crush them in the depacking machine, which is the subject of our grant application. And we extract the heavier liquid material, which is the organic material, and we use that for various organic reuse and recycling and value extractive activities, all of which I've noticed are not the primary focus here. But for what it's worth, nothing is going to waste. We're using everything for valuable end use. And if you'd like to hear more about organic recycling and what we do with that material, I'm very happy to talk to you about it. But with regard to the recyclable materials, we would assume, 200 tons per day would be 6% is 12,000 tons a day. We typically will focus on, in terms of getting that material out into the market, of course, we'll focus on the most marketable activities. So clean cardboard, as actually reflected in the presentation, paper and cardboard, always a large part of what gets recycled to value. Clean cardboard bailed out the door. Aluminum bailed out the door. Other metals, highly likely to have immediate markets. Plastics, as everybody knows, it's mixed, depends on what kind of plastic it is. Some types of plastic go right back out the door. We don't take soap, so none of that useful detergent, reusable plastic containers, we won't be taking any of those, but we will take plastic containers in other classifications, and they often have useful value. We do have an ability to take more material for the purpose of recycling the material, the containers. So we have 200 tons a day, which is our base operations. We're permitted for 300 tons a day. Now, we don't want to put much more organics into our system, but for example, if we had the opportunity to take bottled water or other material that is really just liquid, it doesn't really have a lot of the types of metrics for organic content that I'm not going to get into, because then I'd have to explain them and you'd realize I don't really know what they are. But we could take more of the recyclable materials. Now, the interesting thing about our activity and the amount of achievement that we're going to make towards your board's goals is that we are market driven. And so what that means is that as the market for recyclable materials expands, we will be able to focus on that more and more. And that's one of the reasons why we put the grant application before you that we have, is because the grant will enable us to equip the facility with a very capable, likely slightly over capacity unit. It will then allow us to, in the future and over time, pivot to increased recyclables. Production is a bad word, but putting recyclables into the recyclable market. So we'll be able to respond to market conditions. We'll be able to respond to cooperations with the community. If the community decides that we want to run programs, which we already have in our budget, to work with the community to have different kinds of awareness, different kinds of programs. We were actually trading emails with the compost facility that the county of LaPorte runs just a couple days ago. And we're putting plans in place to help them manage their flow of material as well. And I suspect that that will include accepting diverted materials from that compost site that do have some kind of recyclable material in them that need to be sorted out and placed into the valuable recyclable business stream that already exists in Indiana. That's an overview. There's a lot going on here. I'm happy to comment on any of it that the board would like to talk about.
When's the estimated build date for the building as far as being complete?
They will be finished in the middle of next summer, will be substantial completion. They will be hooking everything up, starting then. Ramp up for some of the organic activities is, a couple months. The receiving of the material, I would call beginning of Q4 next year.
So by end of 26, you guys will be in ramp up
Full
mode.
will be most of the way there by the end of 26.
All right, and then from a headcount standpoint, how many jobs are we gonna open up around the LaPorte area?
Well, our direct payroll annually is $1.1 million. That's about, I think, 20 plus jobs with benefits and everything else.
Thank you.
So on the form, Deanne, it says that this is located in LaPorte.
It's located in the Kingsbury Industrial Park, which is just south of LaPorte.
So the county on here is listed as green, but that's not correct, right? That could have been an internal error.
That
Okay,
must have been my error, yeah.
okay, because I thought we were at $8 million factory in Green County. I was excited.
Let me see. Well, that's because, oh. Yes, on their cover page, it's Greene County, South Carolina for their address.
Oh, yeah, we had to
Okay.
take a swing at people wanted it.
Okay, all right.
If we put-
Apologies, the site, yeah, is LaPorte County.
If we put the site address, if somebody showed up with something, there'd just be the guys in the trailer building it. They would probably want to.
It's fine.
You're not taking names, right?
For me. Specifically.
You have a 50-mile circle service area.
Yeah.
How are you doing on securing your feedstock and do you charge for disposal?
So we do have a tip fee structure, to receive the material. We have targeted it to be generally locally market competitive with the other possibilities that people have for their material. We're trying to integrate with existing hauling activities and existing collection activities. We have a feedstock logistic expert who is handling this full time. We've seen multiple times the material that we were looking for is as available in the area. And have formed agreements with several, both large individual companies and also a couple of integrators. There are people who work with managing the flow of this material.
Are you charging?
Yeah,
Material?
yes. The facility will have a tip fee at the gate, just like any other solid waste disposal facility.
Will you be able to go outside that 50-mile radius?
Yeah, we already have. The big thing is we have rail right up at the top of the park. So we're already talking to a couple of folks outside that radius.
Thank you.
How much actual disposal do you have that goes into landfills or incinerators? Percent-wise?
Well, nothing theoretically from the facility should go into any end use disposal like that. It all goes to beneficial reuse. So we have, the total of what comes out of the facility is 8% of the weight is the recyclable material, which we save and collect and, as I've described, put into the system. Then the vast majority, the rest of that is liquid and solid organic material. The process that we perform on that reduces the mass of it and reduces the organic content of it. It is then solid liquid separated. So we have a solid portion, which we bring down the street to another location we have, which is a combination of composting and what we call biochar, which, I mean, I could bore everybody for another 20 minutes explaining, but the solid material goes out that way and ends up in landscaping products and end use fertilizer products. The liquid material is clean to the point where it can go into the sewer. So I guess that's probably the disposal that happens is if we treat it, and we bring it down to what the wastewater treatment facility in the park needs, and then we give it to them. However, that's a secondary at this point because we're also creating a storage facility for the liquid. We have 1,500 acres of cropland owned by just a couple of farmers very nearby. And we're going to save it and biannually they will drag hose it on their fields for nutrient content. And because we only accept food waste and other organic waste, everything in it is suitable for all those applications. There's no toxins, there's no, there's nothing in it that would be in some other types of waste streams.
Is the compost analyzed for heavy metals?
It will be, yeah.
Any questions? You say biochar, how much biochar per 100 pounds input?
I think it's 10 down to 1. So I think it's 10 tons goes down to 1 ton for the mass reduction.
Okay,
I mean, I have to look it up, but it's something like that. The biochar ends up being, it's basically charcoal.
right. Very good. Any questions of us?
No, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Any other questions from board members? What's the pleasure of the board at this point? Carries.
We move that we give them the $500,000 that they're requesting.
A motion to award $500,000. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Gratz. Any discussion? Ms. Weaver,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman,
Yes.
Mr. Curran,
Yes.
Ms. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carried unanimously. Do we have any members online?
That's, yeah, that's everybody on
I
the.
don't have any voting. All right, well, congratulations.
Thank
We
you
look
very much.
forward to, it's gonna be a hell of a road trip once it gets built. It'd be nice to come and see the process.
Everybody here will be invited to our opening, I promise.
Perfect.
We appreciate the work you all do. Thank you.
Next task scoring applicant that, as determined by the board is CT Polymers. Anyone from CT Polymers? Good morning.
Good morning.
Please come up and join us and tell us what it's all about.
So CT Polymers themselves, they are a high-tech recycling compounding solutions organization out in Bourbon, Indiana. This project specifically, they're looking at a 40,000 square foot expansion with the warehouse space. They'll have offices. The highlight of this project is the new lab and injection molding machine. So essentially, it'll take a lot of materials that are considered underutilized or unrecyclable, shred them down and then remold them to be used as and repurposed. The integrated system itself, it should be a continuous mixer, extruder. Key highlights of this, it'll be easier to install and operate, can process more difficult materials, high production capacity, more efficient, high energy. And overall, it's pretty versatile. Along with the project, there will be 30 new jobs, averaging about $24 an hour. The timeline they're looking at should be beginning at Q1, hopefully finishing in Q2.
Did you say 30 new?
30 new jobs, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So the total cost is 5 million and change.
Yep.
That's for everything.
Yeah, so
for the
that's
machines.
including the building addition and the equipment. So with the compounding line itself, the anticipated cost is gonna be about 2 million and then some change.
You guys are already in construction to add everything on and do everything correct?
Correct, yeah.
Could you identify yourself, please?
Oh, yes, sorry. Devin McSorley with McGuire Sponsel on behalf of CT Palmers.
We have awarded money to other plastic entities that have asked for similar equipment. So how do you stand in gathering your feedstock, guaranteeing that you're going to have sufficient material?
I mean, CT Palmers themselves, they have two separate locations. The one currently, their headquarters in Bourbon and in Arkansas. At this time, they've recycled roughly 160 million annually in recycled materials. With this new project, they're anticipating an increase in 48 million pounds annually.
And Terry, just to let you know, we have awarded CT Polymers, believe fiscal year 23. That's, so they are a past grantee.
And it was for the same facility.
In Bourbon.
Yes, but this will be
It was
a
a
new
different,
project.
yeah,
so
it's definitely a different project.
yeah.
It was for a magnetic, picking out the metals out of their shredding unit. The eddy current separator.
Any other questions?
Deanna, how much did we award them?
Last time,
You know?
I was just pulling it up. It might take me a moment. I don't think it was as much. So it's just the eddy current.
Yeah, I had that number, it was 349,000.
Thank you, Tom. I knew you would have it.
The day.
Can we assume that if you got less than that, the project would still continue to happen? Or would deny for this board to give you the 500,000 requested me that terminate the project?
The incentive piece would definitely make a difference. It may cause a shift in timeline. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure if the project would for sure happen without these incentives.
The
So
total,
I don't want to say yes or no, but
the total project cost that we have is over $5 million, right?
correct, yeah. It's like 5 and some change.
That's for the third project, not just.
What's the conversion listed on that, Kelly?
24,000.
Thank you. It's the board's pleasure. Garen,
Got it on the floor. I move that we give them the $500,000.
Mr. Garen makes a motion that we award CT Polymers $500,000. Do I have a second? Seeing none other, I will second. Any discussion?
I like what they're doing. I like where they're going with this. I like the fact that there's gonna be more jobs, but I would also like to. And that's another 500,000 more half of our goal.
That's where I struggle with it too.
Since we've already helped them on it.
I think we all have that, problem every year, struggling out to stretch 2 million into everyone's pockets. And bottom line is we have to look at the evaluation, trust in our instincts and our scores. And, every time we do this, we have discussions about, we want to make sure the project's successful. Doesn't take this much money. We have to trust that it does or it doesn't. I hate trying to nickel and dime an applicant. It's my personal opinion.
Well, I also, I think, struggle with wanting to, there's so many great projects that we want to try and get as many of them to move forward as possible. And I also struggle with when we have a repeat where they've been successful, that's great. We know our money is more likely to go to, to use the way it's intended. On the other hand, we do get a lot of repeats. But they often rank very high for good reason. So, yeah.
Any other discussion? Garen?
We have a scoring mechanism. And this project ranked number 2. And it's number 2 for a reason. That's why I felt comfortable making the motion to get it.
It's number 2 by 5 points.
I mean, our top 2 projects are way above everything else when we all sit down between the combined scoring. And to me, I'm behind the project and I see the added jobs and they've proven themselves from that standpoint. So when it comes around, I will approve.
We do have a motion on the table. We have a second. Any additional conversation?
I just wanted to build on that exactly what you were saying, looking at the scoring, I think the first 2 are clearly above the rest. I feel comfortable as well. And then after that, I would like to probably hear from multiple before we proceed with another vote.
Good new Cal.
All right, roll call vote. Ms. Weider,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman.
No.
Mr. Garen,
Yes.
Ms. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
and I vote yes. So that makes 6 yeses and 1 no. Thank you very much. Motion carries. Congratulations. You don't have to speak so fast when you're up in front of people. It's hard for us old dudes to keep up with ourselves.
Well, thank you all for your support. I appreciate it.
Thank
All right. Thank you. All right. Next scoring applicant is PRI Incorporated, is it?
Yeah, plastic recycling.
Plastic Recycling. Good morning.
Morning. Morning, everyone. I'm Brandon Shaw, Plastic Recycling, president of the company. 35-year company here in Indianapolis, 3 sites, 1 million square feet approximately. We recycle over 200 million pounds a year. And our project is almost becoming a MRF with inside a MRF, because supply is great, collecting at the MRF level, but the problem is the yield inside those bales are so poor. So when we pull from different MRFs across the state or across the country, the average yield rate is 60%. What we're hoping to do is add this technology with this AI sorter, which is incredible, which will allow us to take the other 40% we have to landfill and recover that. But also what it allows us to do is the 60% we do recover is it's able to upcycle that material into higher value products. And where we focus on as a full service recycler and compounder, we take everything back to a pellet. We're set up at different business units. So we have an e-waste plant in the city. We have a lab and R&D facility to recycle waste from like Eli Lilly. We have an automotive recycling division, and then we have our MRF bale division. And what this will do is the 60% we do recover, it lets us to upcycle that back into FDA products. So to create FDA products, you have to sort for FDA material. So this allows us to go back into cups for Starbucks, McDonald's, the non-food grade stuff goes back to automotive compounds we make. What's happening across the industry, there's mandates, and where the low end of the market is hard to sell into, but the high end of the market, FDA, there's so much demand and not enough supply. So that's where we come in as one of the 4 recyclers in the US that handle these bales to create high-end compounds. So right now, we have to landfill approximately 12 million pounds a year of what we buy from different MRFs. So this will allow us to upcycle the good we collect now and also recover the bad. So it's a loop process. So we sort for PP, we then sort for FDA, non-FDA, all the rejects are then recirculated back through. So the goal of this board is to landfill divert, and that's what we're here to do. So.
How much poundage again, Brandon? What about the other end of divert?
So we recycle about 30 million pounds a year through that line. 12 million of that has to go to landfill. So that approximately that 12 million will be recycled. And we'll work with other recyclers because we focus on certain polymers. Just let us mine those other polymers out. PT, put a PT recycler. HD will keep, ABS will keep, PS will keep. Other materials will work with other partners. So, and this is part of we're asking for $200,000 for $4,000 product, but for $400,000 grant. I mean, this is part of a multi-million-dollar line upgrade. So that wasn't in this grant, but just to make that clear. So we think we'll add approximately 20 people. And it's not so much, we'll add people to the PCR line, but people need to be added to extrusion, blending, lab, et cetera. So that's where we come up with the 20 people.
Who's from board members?
From an install standpoint, Brandon, what will you guys hit if you guys are able to move forward?
Timing wise?
Yeah.
It's 12 weeks to get it in here.
Okay.
You got 2 to 3 months.
You guys got a quick turnaround on it then, under 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That means then monthly. So we were just in Europe 2 weeks ago running trials.
What manufacturers AI are used?
It's Pelonk. So they have a presence there in North Carolina. And it's incredible, the technology, like you can sort Starbucks cup or McDonald's cup and certain takeout containers. So it kind of fits into a lot of the EPR regulations they're having across the US, with, you know, tracking everybody's waste and everything else.
They're tied to every other AI unit across the world. They learn from each other.
Yeah, yeah. So it comes a lot of data in it, but then you can just train it as you go, and it is absolutely incredible. It can now be
I
recovered.
think that's the, you know, obviously, great technology within our roofs that we have.
Yeah.
Particularly on plastics.
So I'm curious to know a little bit more about how it works. So it's literally scanning and just visually identifying, this is this type, this is this type.
Yeah, so what we do now, we go through an NIR sorter, where we sort by polymer. So 6% PP inbound, 40% other. And of that 60%, it'll go into the AI sorter along, and that'll determine food grade from non-food grade. Because your limiting factor right now is humans, like knowing what's food grade, non-food grade, the throughput you have to run. So this just allows us to double our throughput, increase our yield, and then salvage the non-yield fraction.
So what's the, compared to a non-AI sorter, what's the increase in, I don't know, accuracy?
So NIR is just gonna do polymer. This will do form factor. It'll look at the polymer, it'll look at color. So you just train it like how to look at a cup from a takeout container, from an oil container. It's just, that's pretty incredible.
It's hard to explain, but it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Watch it work.
Yeah.
Finally, a good application for AI.
Yeah, it just allows you to upcycle things that just, like I said, the low end of the recycling market, like everybody is struggling. But the high end is where, you know, if you can make a good product, it's FDA, it's colorable, you know, there's an unlimited market. It's just because there's no way to do it.
And then capacity wise, Brandon, what does that do you guys capacity wise by having AI sort that?
So it'll do about 3 tons an hour. You know, we plan to add a shift, so I could add another 10 million pounds on top of the 30 we're doing now. The contracts are in place with end users to go back into food applications.
Any other questions from board members? Hearing none, what's the pleasure of the board at this point?
Sorry, I don't know if this was asked earlier. If you were to be awarded less than 200,000, would you be able to proceed forward with this?
Possibly, but like I said, it's a multi-million-dollar project, and we're just coming for a small part of it, so. Thank you.
Their pleasure, board. Want to talk to a couple different applicants here before we move forward?
I'd prefer to hear from a few more in the order, and I personally have one that I noticed a discrepancy in the way it was ranked between IDEM and the board, that I would like to give them a chance to talk about their project as well.
Who's next on our list?
Next would be Green Cycle.
Do we have a representative from Green Cycle in the audience?
Yes.
Welcome, and please state your name and give us a bit of an overview.
Morning, my name is John Repenning. I'm the vice president and one of the owners of Green Cycle. We're looking for the grant money for a new grinder. This is my 30th year at Green Cycle. We started, the whole company was me, my twin brother, and one guy. Today, 30 years later, we have, 6 locations. We do about 300,000 yards of mulch a year. And we are grinder dependent. We run grinders, every day. It's what we do. We've done it for 30 years, and grant money would help us with the new grinder and increase our capacity, which wood waste seems to be climbing rapidly. For example, we have one competitor that stopped taking wood waste altogether within the last month or so, because they just have too much. So it will give us about a 20% increase in capacity. And the amount of wood waste we got this year is staggering. So it would help us in the future, and we would just be able to do more and more with it. Open any questions.
Is grinder the latest technology grinding wise as far as for the mulch, what you're wanting to do?
Is it,
The latest technology?
yes, it hasn't changed dramatically in 30 years, but the new grinders are stayed for little tub style, when you're low from the top, which you're not careful, you can throw it out. Now they're horizontal style, which is self-contained. And they're more powerful and more efficient to some degree.
Is the demand primarily from just urban sprawl?
It's the demand as far as the tipping side or the sales side.
The tipping side to deforestation or?
Well, so we went through a surge when Emerald Ash Borer came into Indianapolis. But for some reason, I think within the last year, we've seen another surge. I don't know if it has to do with urban sprawl as much as people are being much more conscious about where this type of material is going. So if it goes to a landfill, they do what they do with it, but if it comes to us, they know it's getting recycled. And so 99.9% of what comes in the door goes back out as a saleable product in our company.
We also had some tornadoes last year.
Yeah, we did.
Excursions with those, yeah.
Any other questions from board members?
Will there be any additional jobs with this project?
Only about 3. It's a very highly skilled job. It's a huge, it's the 1,200 horsepower machine. And it's highly skilled. It takes a lot of training, but only 2 or 3 people.
And then just remind me from the process, which location will this go at?
So these machines are mobile. They go to whichever location is most important, but we also travel to municipalities across the state. So we work for other companies as well.
You have questions? Manufacturer of this machine?
It's a Peterson Pacific.
Oh, shit, it's huge. Do you sell your mulch to any soil amendment companies?
No, the vast majority is what's brought in local is sold local. Because we have 6 locations, we cover Marion and the surrounding counties, and we have a small location in Kokomo. The point of the multiple locations is to bring material from that area and ship it back out of that area. The minimizing trucking is a huge part of what we do.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Give us a few minutes. Our next highest scoring applicant is Liberty Tire Recycling. Morning.
Good morning. My name is Tim Landers. I'm a vice president of aggregate and fuel sales for Liberty Tire. Liberty Tire is operating in the state of Indiana at 2 locations, South Bend, Indiana, and in the Indianapolis facility that is specified in this grant. Just to give you a little overview of the tire shredding processes, we take whole tires that are end of life. We take them through a series of shredding processes, none of which are chemically altered. It's just a series of grinders, starting with a large machine that takes it from the whole tire state down to a smaller chip size shred, so they can go to another machine and then further be reduced, and then all the way through wire and fiber liberation. So we have clean crumb rubber that can be used for tracks poured in place, sports fields, molded goods, industrial products. This particular opportunity for Liberty in the state of Indiana is to do some disposal diversion. I call it disposal diversion because landfills currently can use a tire shred for an alternate daily cover, conserving the soils that they may have on property. In some cases, they have to bring them on site in order to cover daily. All municipal landfills are required to cover their waste for the day, at the end of the day, at the end of the processing period, usually with 6 to 10 inches of some type of cover. We're currently doing a portion of that out of our Indianapolis plant, but the majority of our tires processed, which is about 3 million plus a year, go through the Indianapolis plant. Another 5 million go through South Bend, for a total of about 8 million tires a year being collected and recycled. The the crux of the grant is to improve by putting in new shredding equipment to meet the demand of a large customer we've had for years in Kentucky. It's a kiln, it's considered a fuel customer. The unique thing about kilns is they're not just looking for the energy source of a tire shred, which is about 15,000 BTU, coals between 10 and 12. Tires in the right environment burn very clean, unlike what you would expect when you see a burning tire in a parking lot. Black smoke, these are very controlled, they burn at a high rate. But kilns get a carbon benefit from the content of the tire. There's a large facility called Cosmos that's owned by Eagle Material, which is a national cement manufacturer. And they're using the tires for both combustion and then are capturing the carbon. We supplied them roughly 10 to 12,000 tons of whole tires out of the Indianapolis facility over the past several years. Last year, they embarked on a project at their plant to convert from whole tires to a 2-inch tire chip, which is a traditional fuel. In doing so, they'll move from their demand of 10,000 tons to 30,000 tons. The only way for us to support that customer relationship is for us to make that 2-inch material at our Indianapolis plant and then subsidize it out of South Bend, Indiana, or out of one of our Kentucky plants. So this project would take what we refer to as moving it up the value chain. Instead of depending on alternate daily cover and a whole tire outlet, we would now be moving that material to a facility that could use 3 times the amount they're currently using in their production. Out of that, we also recover a chip that is primarily what we call a heavy wire nugget. After we shred the tire, we run it across the magnet and we pull out the nugget that has the bead wire in it, the part of the tire that holds it to the rim. That contains about 40% steel. We can send that to a sister plant in Sturgis, Kentucky. That plant can liberate that wire and fiber and convert that chip into rubber mulch. It is a painting facility that makes retail mulch that you would see at a Home Depot, Menards, or a Lowe's. So they're able to take that, liberate that wire, make it wire-free, coat it with a latex coating, bag it for retail sales, and put it out on the market as rubber mulch. So this project is dependent on buying 2 new shredders, a new shredder and new screening capacity along with magnets for us to convert that. The challenge for us is without that equipment, the 10,000 tons of whole tires that we're going to Cosmos kiln will now be added to the alternate daily cover and or just be pure disposal, because we will not have the ability without the shredder and the screening and magnets to be able to produce that material, which means that in addition to diverting what's going in there now to the landfills for alternate daily cover, we'd be more dependent to take the 10,000 tons that we're going as whole tires. That's going to end up in some form of disposal and or we'll have to try to find some other outlet that would be considered green recycling. Sorry, I'll stop there and answer any questions that you may have.
How many landfills are using this as an alternative daily cover?
There are 2. There's 2 in the state of Ohio that are using it as alternate daily cover. Both of these are owned by Waste Management, who is a big proponent of using this material in conjunction with other alternate daily covers, such as AutoFlow. When they grind up a car at a scrap yard, all of the soft headliners, plastic, all that gets ground up separate from the metal, or separated from the metal. That's a common alternate daily cover. So that foundry sands, bottom ash that's not toxic, that's not hazardous, some paper sludges, all of those things combined make a great daily cover. The benefit to the landfill is that the cover they need to place on the landfill at the end of the day, someone brought it right up there to the landfill to be worked on, to be spread. If they go get their own material on site, they're excavating, they're trucking, so it's much simpler for them to use this. It does consume airspace, but it consumes it in a way where they're also beneficially using a product that normally would be just pure disposal.
Can you help me understand a little better? Because you've talked about a lot of different uses for this. So if the tire material is not going to the kiln, why can't it be turned into some of the other products that you mentioned?
It can. It can. So
Is it a demand issue?
it's a capital issue to begin with. First off, in order to take that product beyond a 2-inch fuel or alternate or a drainage material, which is the other product, both are the same size. So septic tank drains, drainage leach beds, a 2-inch rubber chip instead of stone works very, very well. Lightweight, it never silts up, and doesn't biodegrade. So it's a good, those two products are what we consider on the lower end of the food chain. To invest in a plant that does that, you're somewhere between $1.5 million that we're looking at to spend on this upgrade, up to 15 to 18 million to make the higher end products to Crum Rubber. Crum Rubber plant, we just completed one in Atlanta, start to finish, to make Crum Rubber for sports fields, carpet backing, industrial mats, some auto parts, was $15 million spent. So that takes a lot more incident volume than we currently have going into Indianapolis at 30,000 tons a year. Atlanta's 3 times that size. So it's at the economics of the equipment that's required to take that material from whole tire state down to something at a high-end value. That's why we try to partner a plant like Indianapolis with sending 25 or 30% of this material to Sturgis so that it can be liberated in a plant that has the capability to take it down to less than an inch, remove the wire, paint it, and put it into retail.
Okay, so is this correct to say that to justify the Crum Rubber plant that would have a higher quality product, you have to have a larger volume coming in to make the cost?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you just, if you spend 15 million to do that, to build that type of plant, and you're spreading that, you're recovering that cost through 30,000 tons, it's not going to compete well against other projects within the Liberty footprint or any industry's footprint. It's internally competing against the other capital expenditures that are going to cover the return.
And the kiln, if they didn't have this material, if you didn't do this project, what would they do?
Well, some of them operate on another alternate fuel. But the benefit of the tires, they're seeking the tires because of the carbon content. Other fuels do not have that. So the kiln would most likely look for that tire supply out of some other region. Further south, there's not. An interesting statistic to keep in mind is, and I don't know why it works, but I've been in this business 20 years. If you want to know how many tires are in a particular segment or region, it's 1 per person per year. Don't ask me why, but it works. So if there's 7 million people in the state of Indiana, there's probably 7 million tires being thrown away, or 77,000 tons. So you start to build these collection centers, these processing centers, so that you can afford those $15 million projects, so that you have multiple back-end markets as opposed to a smaller plant. When Liberty acquired the plant in Indianapolis, it was probably 1/3 of the size that it is now. So we built up the inbound collection as well as made investment in equipment there. But just that one shredder's like $600,000. So it's when you put your foot in that pool, you're in. So,
And sorry for a lot of questions, but also for my own edification, the tire market, is that volume increasing notably each year? I mean, we have more people, I assume the volume is going up, but then again, young people don't drive, so.
yeah, that's true. We do see that in certain, you go on the coast, you'll see the impact of not driving. Okay, you go to New York, they buy into a lease program where they want the car when they want it. They might drive it twice a year, but they pay. So yet we're seeing the impact of that. In the Midwest here, it's been pretty stable and it's very seasonal. Twice a year, we see inbound tire, discarded tires spike First indication of bad weather. People want a better tread on their vehicle. We see that. The other one is in the early summer. Getting ready for vacation. We saw this really shoot up during COVID where folks weren't flying, they were driving on vacation. Yeah. So what you see in April, May, and June is folks getting their oil changes, tires and all that for vacation, right on the heels of getting a tax return. So I got a little bit of money here, I'm gonna take a vacation, so we see two spikes. A spike at a facility that does 80,000 tons a year. A 10% spike is 8,000 tons that we couldn't commit to an end user because we don't know if it's coming in, but yet we have to have an outlet for it. Every tire coming in has to go out in some form or fashion. So capacity has to be built and managed for that ebb and flow. Midwest is a lot higher spikes because of the change in weather versus a plant in Florida. So yeah, but it's fairly stable. I mean,
So in terms of forecast of what the volume expect to come in annually, it's relatively steady.
yeah, the thing that changes most is if we go out and take on a new territory and increase the volume that way, or another collector has trouble.
Mm.
We also do amnesties and cleanups for open tire dumps. And so, and a lot of those are state funded. So, we'll see inbound increases we can bid on based on cleanups that would occur, or an amnesty. Everybody can bring in 4 tires and get rid of them for free, kind of thing. So yeah, those are the big fluctuations. Seasonal purchases and any types of cleanups.
As a former solid waste director, I can tell you that, and not to dumb it down, but when you start looking in the hills and hollers of Indiana, there are lots of tires out there. We had no lack of tires at the solid waste district. And, a big thing is people don't want to pay for the disposal. Amnesty days are wonderful if you can fund those. But it's sad really how many tires are hidden out there, that need to be cleaned up.
20 years ago, I left the waste industry for a simpler job. Second biggest mistake I've ever made in my life. I won't tell you about the first. But it's a simple business that's very complicated.
Yeah.
Because if you've got 30,000 tons or you've got 3 million tires projected to come in your facility, you have to have some place to take those. State of Ohio, where I cut my teeth on the tire business, you're not allowed to put any form of a tire in a landfill. So you don't have an option in Ohio to get rid of a tire in a landfill with the exception of alternate daily cover, liner material when they build a new cell, or in our case, we opened a tire monofill. Tires only. The plan was they're there if we need to mine them later on. I'd love to see that. But, the options are limited. And so staying on top of those back end markets is what's made Liberty successful throughout the US, buying existing operations, integrating them in a network that allows us to ship material from Ohio all the way to Baltimore, so it hits an end customer with a beneficial use. Indianapolis is one of those plants that's right at the point where it's a little bit too small to be a big player, and it's a little bit too big to just get rid of everything that collects without any worries, so. I'm getting the sense that I might have been the one that you wanted to hear more from.
How is Cosmos going to feed this material in its kiln?
Pardon?
How is Cosmos going to feed this material in its
So
kiln?
Cosmos has spent, I don't know how many millions of dollars in the last 6 to 8 months converting their feed system to take a chip versus a whole tire. Introducing that into a kiln, which is just a long tube that they heat. They were, have anybody ever seen a Jugs machine where they throw a football? Yeah.
And I've been there.
Okay, so now they're going to a different feed system which blows it in there. And that's the reason they can take more capacity is that void space can now be consumed with a chip, 2-inch material versus a whole tire in there that takes a little bit longer to combust as it moves its way through the kiln.
Is there any plans I mean, you probably get your finger on the pulse in this industry, and cement industry, for S-Rock to expand their Mitchell plant where they could burn tires.
I don't know. I support a VP of fuels. That's his only focus. So, I mean, and so jointly because the aggregate material, which I am primarily focused on, civil use. Tom handles the fuels. He came out of the fuels market. He builds the feed systems. Would know better. We are seeing an interest in, we've got 3 kilns within this region that previously had no interest in rubber that are now interested. The closest one would be Fairborn, Ohio. There's another Eagle Material facility there that's been rolled in with the one in Louisville, Cosmos in Louisville. And they're just trying to transfer that technology. That'll probably take them a year or two to construct the feed system for introducing a rubber there.
One thing about the Cosmos and Louisville, they never were able to recover the metal, obviously, because they would pitch a whole tire in and it would burn before it hit the grate.
Yeah.
Basically, and it does help with the emissions of
Yeah.
the kiln.
Yeah,
But a lot of that goes into fly ash,
right.
ends up in a cement.
Yeah.
So,
They can use all of that actually. So
Okay.
they've not been a huge, you've got some paper and pulp facilities and some power plants that are using a rubber. They get a little concerned on wire content because it ends up in their bottom ash. That's why we pull that bead wire out. That nugget might be 40 to 60% wire just because of the size of piece it's cut. All that's removed even for Cosmos. So there's not a problem with that melting and then solidifying and clogging up their discharge system, which can happen if it's got a lot of wiring. So,
now the tough question, any compliance issues recently?
no. In a plant, like what we have in Indiana, the only compliance issues we'd ever be faced with is too much material stored on site. And that's where you get clogged up where, Dave, who's back there, the regional vice president, he's got an amnesty that comes in that material is sitting there because it's excess capacity that we didn't plan for. Usually the regulators will work with us if we have a plan in place that it's going to sit here. This pile, we'll add an additional pile. Most of the piles are managed for fire protection, to be honest with you. They want spacing. They don't want it too big that it can't be mitigated if there is a fire of some sort. But I'm not aware of any compliance. Honestly, across the Liberty footprint, I can only think of one compliance issue in the past 12 months.
Fire was obviously, that's the force that I was referring to.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's troublesome, but you're right, you have to
it's hard to start,
manage your,
but hard to put out.
yes.
It's the heat, the ignition point for a piece of rubber is about 580 degrees. So you could use a big lighter and unless it had fiber hanging out of it, you'd never come close to getting it.
It's amazing what piece of glass in the sunshine can do.
We monitor the temperatures with thermal guns every day. Any pile that we have on site is monitored with a thermal gun and a 4-foot thermometer probe. We're monitoring the temperature change, not necessarily the temperature. A pile at 70 degrees in the morning in the sun can be 120 degrees. If it's the next day, 150 degrees, and it's continuing to climb, is when we start to have a concern.
Very good, thank you.
I have one more question.
Yes.
Thank you for enduring so many questions from me. Do you know for the kiln, switching from the whole tires to the 2-inch, are there any quantifiable environmental benefits? Is this more efficient for their process? Does it reduce emissions on their end, or I don't know if you can answer this or not.
I'll give you a very layman's explanation. There is the benefit of the rubber we've already talked about from the carbon recovery part. It also has something to do with their reduction of other products for CO2. He's shaking his head, so Bruce might know more, but there is a, I believe, a CO2 benefit to rubber and lower mercury than other combustion sources. Obviously, the best is natural gas if you can get it and use it in your system, but not everybody can. So there are benefits. The other benefit to that particular segment is the fact that we now get to move 3 times as much material to that customer than what we previously did, meaning we're less dependent on something that's not quite as beneficial. So I'd wrap it all together with respect to that. So.
Thank you.
Any questions from board members?
I appreciate the time.
Thank you very much. Next applicant, next highest scoring applicant is Goodwill Industries. Michiana,
Yes.
sorry, my new glasses are not working.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Deb Coble, President and CEO of Goodwill Industries of Michiana. So thank you so much for this opportunity. We're seeking the funding to advance our sustainability efforts. It's something that we have been working on for a few years and want to continue to increase that. And so this is actually our highest priority is our textile or baler replacement, and then getting reusable shopping bags into the hands of our customers, as well as then increasing our marketing to get donations into Goodwill. You're seeing more and more across the state of Indiana, these out-of-state boxes popping up, collecting donations, and those don't stay local. And so those don't help our communities where we serve. So we want to continue to get folks to understand what happens when they donate locally. So up in northern Indiana, north central, northwest Indiana, we have 24 stores. So just a tidbit, there are 5 Goodwills headquartered in Indiana, and we all have territories that we are assigned to. So I have 16 counties in Indiana. And so with this, most of our goods that we are able to divert from the landfill, because we do process over 75 million pounds every year in donations from people in our community who give us stuff. And so what has happened when we opened our recycling facility in 2019, we bought a state-of-the-art baler. And unfortunately, it did not prove to be state-of-the-art, and we really need to replace it because it is not able to do our bales tight enough. And so what is happening with that is that our vendors, after we go through several iterations of getting it into the hands of folks and keeping it in circulation, it will at the last step go into hands of vendors and who also continue that full recycling process. And so our bales end up being loose. We're not able to get the amount of pounds in there that they like. So we have to sell them at a reduced rate, and it takes more gas and fuel to get those out. So that's a huge issue. And we utilize about 4 million plastic bags a year. We want to get rid of using 4 million plastic bags every year. And so in an effort to get our customers acclimated to that, we would like to be able to distribute them to, first and foremost, to our loyalty members, because we have Goodwill shoppers that have benefits for shopping at Goodwill. And then again, our marketing campaign to get that out. So we have a lot of partners that we work with in getting donations in, as well as we are with Notre Dame. We clear out their dorms every year, as well as then just doing some other donation drives with universities as well. We have a very strong leadership team. I've been with Goodwill for 35 years, and in the role of president and CEO, almost 14 years. And so the cost of our baler is just over $350,000. So for a not-for-profit, that's a large expenditure. And so reusable bags, then we estimate about 91,000, and then with the marketing effort about 160,000, because that would be boosting what we currently do. So with this, then we want to continue to strengthen this would be the first step, and then just continue to strengthen our efforts in doing our recycling so that we keep more things out of the landfill and keep them in circulation for longer periods of time. And We estimate that this new baler would actually add about 6 new positions to our operation over in Gary, which is an area that needs jobs. Right now, we have about 65 employees that serve in that recycling center. And we do about 2 million, a little over 2 million in comps and benefits for that facility. So what questions? I do have some phone a friends, if that's okay, if you have too technical questions. So, but I couldn't bring them up in a backpack, so.
I've always been curious, what do you do with the textiles that you bale?
So we source vendors. We don't just go with anybody. But we source vendors in that will grade them. Some of them will get continuous circulation where they get used, like jeans now are being used for insulation. Some of the t-shirts and stuff will get made up into rags. Up in northern Indiana, we are a big RV industry. And so a lot of the RV industries will use those as well. And then we do sell to, some do go to other countries, where they keep them for their livelihood as well, and they are very dependent on it. I think the exciting piece, though, this is a whole new world, and I actually serve on our sustainability committee for Goodwill Industries International, where we are really getting into that, looking at that circularity to where the chemical processing of being able to bring it back down to a virgin fiber technology that eventually will be able to help us source it of the type of material. But for us, this is our next step. So.
I think your project is very good. I love the fact that Goodwill Industries does the textile recycling. Because I myself wear my clothes out, and then, so that is a wonderful thing to me. It makes me feel good that I know I can donate that to Goodwill, and if it's not good enough to sell, that it will still be recycled.
Exactly.
Also like the fact of your project that you work with University of Notre Dame. I have 5 children, 4 of which have been in college or are still in college, and it makes me sick what happens at the end of the year.
Right.
So the fact that at least someone is trying.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah. So it's amazing. You know, we tell people, when it comes to like appliances and stuff like that, if it doesn't work, please find alternative homes for it. But if it's textiles, we don't care if it's stained, we don't care if it has holes in it. Please give us your textiles because we can handle them. And again, this process will just allow us to do it more efficiently. And then as we've been looking into 2026 about ways to do donation campaigns stronger with businesses and other entities so that we can collect more, so that we can continue this process and help keep even more out of the landfill. So, and in circulation.
Questions? $350,000 baler for textiles.
Yeah. So we do have, so as we've done this, we have our vendor sourced, we've done the due diligence ahead of time. And so we have everything ready to go because right now there is over a 40-week lead time. So we know we could still get everything done, but these aren't things that we can just go pick up of Home Depot's shelves and put into operation.
What type of machine are you?
Can I phone a friend for that to give you?
Sure.
Tom, you want to come?
Sure.
Come on up, Tom. Tom oversees our center.
It's an on-time baler, manufactured by REM Manufacturing out of Alabama. It'll be installed by PCI. Any other questions about it?
What's your current bill?
Our current baler is an American baler. It's also an auto tie. As Debbie said, we've continued to have problems with it since its installation.
Is it the blade of the baler or is it auto tie?
The problem that we've had is that the American baler was never able to dial in the compression of the bales. They are too loose. So what we run into is we're not getting our target weights. We're also having problems with them basically falling apart. And so it's reducing our target weights on our containers and trailers. It's actually, over the past 2 years, this led to 52 additional containers being shipped out, what we estimate. So what we're hoping to do is kind of increase that compression, increase the weight on that. And the bales will be in better condition for our buyers, as well for us. We spend a lot of time, unfortunately, with this machine, doing a lot of extra work where we're pulling bales out and rebaling currently. So we're hoping that that's gonna help that. We're hoping to create additional, sorts, which is gonna increase employees on that machine. So actually, as we're able to bale faster, that's what's gonna create our additional positions and such.
There's different commodities that they'll pay for.
I'm sorry,
There's different commodities that they'll pay more for, so if we can, like linens, if we can do a bale full linens, then we can get a different price than just general textile.
it's just, you know, a baler is pretty simple, like a missile.
It is, the complex part is the auto tie. We need the auto tie for the speed, but, and that's really where we're kind of falling down with this current machine,
Okay,
frankly.
I am an American.
Could you identify yourself, please?
My name's Tom Lawson.
International.
Oh, no, not now, it's, machines.
No, I don't know, I've fooled around with a few, Debbie's fooled around with many, and just curious.
Yeah, sure.
But I think you're looking at a good machine
Thank you.
with what you're sourcing. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pleasure of the board, we're gonna continue on for a couple more. So, what we wanna do?
Yes.
In that case, I'm gonna hand the meeting over to Kelly. I'm recusing myself from next.
All right, do we have someone here from the city of Seymour? Wonderful. Would you pop and state your name and give us an overview of your project?
Thank you guys ahead of time for your consideration. My name is Chad Dixon. I am with the city of Seymour. I brought Alan Axon with me. He is the new director of public works. And Eric Chase, he's in charge of the trash department. We're asking, for a 500, 500 horsepower electric, horizontal grinder. This will allow us to, process our wood products, grow, throughout the county as far as, having those key players, on all stretches of the county, try to keep them from, burning piles of wood and everything else, but, this kind of goes with a bigger project, if you will. So, in the last couple of years, we've had a vision for a little while now. We're building a transfer station in the city of Seymour. It's right next to our shop. We have like 4 to 5 acres that we harness our mass yard waste, if you will. So this is actually one part of what's going to change the face of public works for Seymour, for the county. We have, with this grant, we'll have the opportunity to tie. I can't say more jobs will be created, but more programs will be created. So we work in programs, we work in volunteers. So, the 100 kids that go to that class 5 times a day, so there's potential of 500 citizen scientists, if you will. So as far as impact goes, it's not just, it is waste diversion, but it's also a bigger picture. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to do. You dream for things for your community, but usually you don't have the means to make it happen because you don't, have the funds for it. This will account for half of those funds that we need to make this project work. We're looking, just in skids alone, just by stats we have now, we would divert 15 tons from the landfill that would otherwise go to the landfill. We have some locals. I'm not trying to take any waste streams or anything like that from independent folks, you know. But we've had talks with them as well. So to make sure we're not impacting them in a negative way either. My apologies, guys. I'm very nervous. This is the first for me, so, I'm actually more nervous now than I was last night. I came from French Lick at AIM, and I was in the mayor's dinner. That was pretty laid back. This is a little rougher. But so you know, you've got a lot of mayors pulling, like, they're rooting for this program if it helps, but we're talking high impact, low cost. As far as, going back to 3 Rs. Once we tie with the school next door, that gives them an avenue to experiment with the land that they have to see what soils can actually do for a field. They have the means to do soil sampling. To do soil samples. So we're building a bigger program. So as far as the outreach in the end, it's pretty big. I don't know how big, but we do have the support to carry it on and to grow from it. I've spoke with Duke and the other players for utilities. They're looking at 4 months to get us the electric we need. Talked to sales rep with Road Chopper, and they need 6 months to build and deliver. So, one thing I do want to, on money wise, if we spend probably $100,000 to $200,000 in grinding, but we don't have that in one lump sum. It comes out every year with the budget. So, any questions?
So if you had to take a reduced amount for funding, would you still be able to do this project?
What's your budget look like? With this SEA 1, 2, we have no idea what it's gonna look like in a couple years yet. So I mean, this is my Hail Mary. If you will.
No pressure or anything.
Well, hey, I'm just saying, it is gonna be a book. If we get this, watch what we do. Please.
Can you speak a little more to what types of materials you're gonna be processing?
Okay, yeah, so we'll take all wood waste, yard waste, grass clippings, skids. This will allow us to take skids. Because it has a magnet in it as well. That's basically it, and then the finished product as well. So now we'll have a mulch base that the entire city government, county governments can use instead of spending that streaming money on mulch for beautification. We actually have it here for free. So yeah.
And are the skids coming from just
Business.
local businesses?
Yeah, our biggest one is John Deere, right?
And what are they currently doing with those?
They have us pick them up and we take them back down.
So if you guys have an abundance of mulch, could that be put back into like the local area from Seymour area?
Absolutely.
To the, you know, if I lived in Seymour, I'm gonna go out and get it up.
And you'll have a good product too. Yeah, we give out to the citizens. We'd probably do it a little bit more since we would have someone there and attendant there. But we'll have one main entrance that leads to the transfer station, but to go to the yard waste area. I said we couldn't build a transfer station, just for the record. They said we couldn't build a transfer station under $2 million, and we are about there. And we're not gonna hit $2 million at all, so. Trying to be conservative with everybody's money.
Any other questions from the board?
I'm sorry, I can't remember,
is there permitting that needs to happen for this?
We met with IDM, about a month or two ago. They come out, did a site visit. We discussed everything there and passed with flying colors.
Very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So at this point, if we were to award the requested amounts for everyone that we've heard from, we would be $700,000 over what we have. I do have one other that I would like to hear from. Sure. Which is the trustees of Indiana University. There's someone here. Would you mind coming out there? Yeah. And back to you.
Please carry on.
Good.
Morning, everyone. I'm Jessica Davis, Associate Vice President for Sustainability at IU. We are actually housed in our Capital Planning and Facilities Division, so we focus on efficiency, risk mitigation, and responsible resource management for the university. For this project, and I'll just preface, I understand we give out grant money too, so I'm going to volunteer. I'm going to rank order my campuses for you if that helps to spread the money around. So we're requesting in-vessel composters for 3 of our campuses, IU Bloomington, IU Indianapolis, and IU South Bend. Those are 3 of our campuses that have on-campus dining facilities that produce a significant amount of pre-consumer food waste. The Indianapolis campus and the Bloomington campus have the longest history with composting. They were actually doing pre-consumer composting out of our kitchens prior to COVID. And then during COVID, either our haulers or our vendors went out of business and or stopped offering a compost hauling service. So since then, we have been racking our brains about the best way to solve this problem. Just for an item of scale, the Bloomington campus produces about 6,100 tons of waste a year, and about 44% of that is food waste, organic. That's a pretty hefty amount, especially on our Bloomington campus. And we've landed on the option thus far of really trying to do as much of it ourselves in-house. We have a lot of infrastructure that's already in place. What we really need is a collection vessel and the ability to transform it to compost. So these in-vessel composters, again, 3 of them, 1 for each campus, this is definitely a pilot scale request. If it goes well, it would be something that we would scale probably on our biggest campuses. We'll be able to fill, they're basically like stainless steel cylinders that you can put your food waste into. It would be staged at the loading dock behind each of our dining halls in those 3 locations. Our food services staff would put the food waste into that compost container. It can take about 66 buckets a day, gallon buckets, which is about 550 pounds of food waste a day the vessel can take. And it would process that through and turn it into compost at the end of it. It actually is a process that is continuous. So you can put that 500 and so pounds in a day, and it moves through the tank and then spits out compost at the end of it, where we have some collection toters at the end to take it to a curing location. Our intention is to use it on campus. We already do some on-site composting of our landscaping waste, and we use that as mulch application on campus. We would use this compost as soil amendment and sort of a more natural fertilizer in our landscape beds for our campuses. So that's what we'd like to do with it. So if you look at the budget there, the Bloomington campus is, I think, the 700 version, 900. I think 900, the A900 is Bloomington, the A700 is Indianapolis, the A500 is South Bend. If I were to rank them, I would go Bloomington, South Bend, Indianapolis. So if you're looking to pinch your pennies a little bit more. And the only reason I would put Indianapolis at the end is simply because there's a bit more composting infrastructure in Indianapolis that we could lean on versus in Bloomington and South Bend. It's a really tough market in those 2 locations. So that is our proposal. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
So thank you for clarifying that. So in your explanation, I see the breakdown in terms of the volume anticipated. So for the A900, which would be Bloomington.
Yes.
You're looking at 143,500 pounds to be composted with this project.
Yes.
And then the A700
is Indianapolis,
and that's 56,000 pounds. And then the A500 is
South Bend,
and that's 24,000 pounds.
Correct.
Okay. And one of the reasons why I wanted to hear from you and clarify that is, I think, I want to make sure everybody saw the volumes that we're looking at here.
Yeah.
I think it's a really great project, and it also has a lot of potential community impact because of course you've got a lot of young people that will be aware
Yeah.
and learning about compost while they're there seeing these facilities.
Yeah, and luckily, like I said, on Indianapolis and Bloomington, all of our kitchen staff have composted before, so it's just a matter of a refresher for them to get them back into the habits that they once had. So a little bit less on the education side for our full-time staff.
And the requested amount was 85,337.
Mhm.
Do you know what that would be for, let's say, just the Bloomington campus?
So if it was Bloomington here, so half of that cost was 66,000, and then we would need half of the curing pad, so that's 12,000 total. And then half of the toters, because we only need toters in Indy and Bloomington, so so I guess what we would ask for you guys is 33 plus 6 plus 5.
45K.
Okay. So, yeah, so basically half, yeah, would be able to get everything you need for the Bloomington.
Yeah, the Bloomington one is the more expensive solution just because they have the more volume of food waste. Does that make sense?
You said that you've been composting for a while in a food service part.
Yes.
What did you do with that end product?
Yeah, so in Bloomington, we're contracted with a composter that is now out of business in Bloomington. So they were doing the hauling for us. We were doing all the behind the scenes collection, trained the staff, had them put them into dedicated toters. Those were then hauled to a compost location in Bloomington. Unfortunately, the owner of that company passed away and they decided to dissolve the company. We were then in negotiations with another company, but they weren't able to get a permit to do composting. So they also fell out as a solution for us. So before it was always hauled somewhere else off campus and composted. Same thing in Indianapolis. And actually, we're still composting in Indianapolis, but just in our residential facilities, we have it's hauled by Earth Mama Compost to Green Cycle. So those two campuses have the deepest history, but it was all hauled and composted elsewhere.
So you have a permit to do this? Sure.
It wouldn't require a permit because we're not actually doing any ground-based composting on campus. It's all in the vessel itself. And then what comes out of it is a cured compost material that's ready for application.
How long is that material in?
It takes about 5 days from the time you put a bucket in to it comes out the back end as a usable material. But it applies like heat, high temperature to it to accelerate the decomposition process. That's what that vessel does. Questions? Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good.
Very good project.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, we're excited about it.
Yeah, unless there are any others that folks on the board want to hear from.
Any other applicant that anybody on the board wants to review? Once again, thanks to all of you. Obviously, we wish we had more money, but we only have limited amount. So at this point in time, what's the pleasure of the board?
I make the motion to fund Goodwill Industries for 300,000
Motion to fund Goodwill Industries,
or how was it? 301. 301.
$301,000. We'll get the details now.
Hey, you could be stingy and just say 300,000.
Yeah.
Make it a lot easier.
We have a motion by Mr. Gratz, second by Mr. Gurn. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, do a roll call vote. Ms. Weider,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman,
Yes.
Mr. Gurn,
Yes.
Ms. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Gratz,
Yes.
Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you very much. So that was for their full amount requested.
$101,011.
$11. Sorry, Deanna.
That's why I make the Excel sheet, right?
Why you have formula at the end.
Now we're down.
Yeah, I'll share it.
600.
Yeah, the math was easy until now.
We have 698,000 left.
I would like to make a motion.
It's gonna be smaller.
Ms. Weiger,
I would like to move to fund the trustees of Indiana University for 45,000. Just make them even number, 45,000.
we have a motion by Ms. Weiger to fund the Indiana trustees, Indiana University, $45,000.
Second.
Second by Mr. Noonan. Any additional discussion? Roll call vote. Ms. Weiger,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman, Mr. Guerin,
Yes.
Ms. Henry,
Yeah.
Mr. Kratz,
Yes.
Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Congratulations. The motion carries unanimously.
Our students thank you too.
Thank you.
Right on the thing over there.
Everybody sees how slow I type.
650.
I'd like to make a motion with PRI, plastic recycling, for the full 200K for those guys.
The motion by Mr. Noonan for Essex Recycling Incorporated. Receive 200,000, second by Ms. Weiger. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, Ms. Weiger,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman, Mr. Guerin,
Recuse.
Ms. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Kratz,
Yes.
Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead.
Yes.
I vote yes. Motion carries 6 yeses, 1 recused. Next on the list.
Can I ask a question? For Green Cycle, would your project be able to move forward with $453,989?
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to fund Green Cycle for amount.
Ms. Weiger has made a motion to fund Green Cycle for that amount. $453,989.
989.
All second.
Second by Mr. Noonan. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, Ms. Weiger,
Yes.
Ms. Hackman.
Yeah.
Mr. Guerin,
Recuse.
Ms. Henry,
Yes.
Mr. Kratz,
No.
Mr. Noonan,
Yes.
Ms. Whitehead.
Yes.
I vote yes. We have 1 recusal, 1 no, and 5 yeses. Motion carries. With that, we've depleted our funds, I believe. I would like to thank all of you for your applications. For those of you who were not successful, please don't give up. We have hopefully another round coming next year. We're excited about the number of applicants. In all honesty, a lot of good things happening out there. People on this board, I will tell you, wish we could fund every application sent in. And unfortunately, we're not able to. And so it is a competitive grant application. You know, polish your pencil and get things resubmitted. We'll consider it again. Hopefully you'll be more successful next time. For those of you who were awarded, congratulations. We truly look forward to seeing the end product and wishing you the best of luck. You know, Anna?
For those that were awarded funding, I'll send you a quick note probably tomorrow and then more detailed information next week as we move forward through the process.
With that, do we have any other?
Do we have any reply back as far as our status on the board?
I'm going to let Carl answer that.
Carl, do you have any update?
Yeah, I talk about it to our commissioner every opportunity I get, and they're talking to the governor's office regularly about it. So, you know, operating as, you know, you were appointed, until we get different appointments, new appointments, or replacements, whatever that may be. You know, obviously we have the vacancy with Craig Lutz, seat on the board with his passing earlier this year. And then, you know, we'll have to evaluate what, you know, Title 13 requires us to have for board membership and representation, and, you know, see who can, you know, who can wear what hat, I guess, to fulfill those roles. And I think the way that the legislation is written is, I think half of the board appointments we're supposed to be for 2025 through 2025, and then the other half we're supposed to be for 2 years from then, so 2027, I believe. So how that all shakes out once we get appointments. I know the governor's administration has been looking at all of the boards and commissions, and, you know, that there's a lot of them, in the hundreds of boards and commissions across Indiana. So I'm not sure where the RMDB is on that long list of trying to get all those appointments made. So, but I know our commissioner is talking to our secretary and the cabinet, as well as, you know, anybody else in the administration that will listen to.
So business as usual for right now?
Correct, yes. Do you hear from us otherwise?
Oh, okay. Wait,
I have another question. The maximum grant, which is now set at 500,000, is that set by?
You, the board.
Okay, so we could change that if we thought that would be a good idea.
Yeah.
well, I would like to thank the board members. I know it takes a lot of time out of your day, to volunteer to, you know, we don't get paid to do this. It's all volunteer time, and thank you for your efforts in reviewing these grants. It is a process we've come to grips with. It may not seem like we do a lot of evaluation from the audience perspective, but there's a lot of back and forth that goes on. So, thank you very much. Yes, Carl?
I was just gonna go back to your note about the, you know, the not being able to award is, you know, we get a lot of applications. I mean, this is my fourth meeting where you guys have awarded funds since I've been in my role in 2022. And I think we pretty consistently get about at least approximately 2.5 times the amount we have available in applications and requests for actual state funding through this program. And similarly with our community recycling grant program, which is a smaller grant award program that we run just in-house in IDEM and make those decisions. We have $500,000 annually that we give out in that program, but again, we also get about 2.5 times the ask of what we have available. So just wanted to make note of that for the folks here in the room and online. So
Deanna, Carl, is the waste tire fund still in existence?
yes.
Yeah, actually, in the last couple of years, IDEM has renewed those grants, and they are awarding grants to solid waste management districts for waste tire collections and management.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of a hint to Liberty Tire.
Correct.
I'm sure they know.
Being that this is a public meeting, do I have any comments from the gallery? Anybody want to speak up or ask any questions? Okay, well, you're none.
Nope.
Terry, everybody but Terry.
Well, we abide by pretty strict rules. And if there's any hint that one of us on this board has an interaction or a conflict of interest with an applicant, we excuse ourselves from any evaluation or comment, voting or anything else. In a way, it's kind of unfortunate because in my own case, there are several cases where I had to recuse myself. Where if I had a chance to vote, I'd vote for that project, even though it may not be in the best interest of the companies that I represent. So there are some flaws in the system, and I'm not sure how you address those. But just so those of you in the audience knows, if there's any hint at all that we have a conflict, we excuse ourselves totally.
And we do have legal representation here as well, so, and Mr. French is in the audience somewhere. Thank you, Michael.
He runs a tight ship.
All right, well, with nothing, no other business, again, thanks all. The only thing I would ask for would be a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Noonan. Second by Mr. Gratz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time. Effort.
Thank you.